Alrighty, we're recording. As usual, it's 10:32, 2 minutes late, but whatever. Stream the Machine episode 39, and here we go.
One day, Alex and Sam were mucking around on their phones.
Why don't we take a selfie? Yeah.
Then Sam had an idea.
I'll take a picture.
What if they sent a picture of Alex's willy to their friend Katie? You know, the kind that disappears in a few seconds. When Katie saw it, she thought it was very funny. So she screen grabbed the picture and sent it to her friends. And they sent it to theirs. And the next day at school...
Newsflash! The world sees Alex's willy.
Alex even got a message from a bully. He then got one from a man he didn't know. Sometimes children share things they shouldn't online. And the effects can be devastating. Help keep your child safe. Be Share Away.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Tony. Don't slam the f***ing door.
Chainsaw to the dick.
You're listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast. Welcome to Stream the Machine. Welcome to the show, everybody. Stream the Machine, episode 39. So the opener there was a British PSA for like selfies and taking pictures of your penis, I guess. But it got dark pretty quickly. It starts out all fun and games, and then as soon as Billy gets a message from somebody he doesn't know, it got a little weird.
Yep, that's when it gets a little.
Anyways, I wanted to play that because you know, I occasionally get pictures from Tony, and I just wanted to let you know, man, you gotta be careful about sending me pictures of your willy.
Hey, trust you.
Well, I am Jake Mercer. I am your host. With me, as always, is Tony DePalma. Tony, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. A little disappointed that you don't like all my pictures.
Well, some of them are good.
I mean, I work on the lighting a lot.
He puts a lot of time and effort into these.
Yeah.
You guys are unaware. Now that jazz sounds like it's too quiet. Hold on a second. I'm never going to be completely satisfied with our jazz situation, it seems like. Okay, I've turned it up some. All right, we're good to go. We have a good show happening for us today. Have a special guest coming on later. Ross Bass is not here with us today. He is alive. I made it sound like he was dead. He is not. You know what? So we were trying to line up this thing with a guest, and I said something to Ross. I said, well, hey, what time works best for you? Like, what week is the best week for, you know, you to take a break, and then we'll have this guest on. And he was like, you know what? He's like, actually, next Saturday. He goes, there's something that I don't need to do, but I could, you know, it would be really cool if I could do this. And I think he was doing a favor for somebody, and so I was like, all right, cool. And we talked to our guest, and we said, all right, how's next Saturday? And it worked out. So here we are. We're ready to go. Mystery special guest coming later. Start off the show as usual. If you like the show, if you hate the show, go leave us reviews on iTunes. I think we have 2 reviews on iTunes, and one of them is my mother, so that doesn't count. There's nice things said by everybody, and I like that my mom likes the show, but every man's mother's gonna like the podcast he does. So we need more reviews. Get out there and go review us. Interesting thing. I am trying, or at least going to try, to learn Japanese.
Nice.
It's even saying it sounds kind of stupid because it's one of those things like you're like, okay, but I've gotten a hold of some of the books that they used to use in like university level college courses, and I've even begun making flashcards. I'll even show you right here into the camera.
Oh, nice.
I started. I got a thick stack. This is just one of the sets of the characters that they use.
So are you trying to learn to read speak or read and speak?
Read and speak. So I was gonna start this week, but I'm not gonna lie, I got kind of nervous and scared, and because I was like, oh shit, there's a lot to learn, and so I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll just take this week to, like, quote unquote prepare more, and then when next week comes around, I'll try and tackle it. So what I've done basically this week is just kind of prepare some tools and stuff, and like I said, gather up some of the books, and next Monday, the goal. So tomorrow, I guess, my goal is to sort of write out like a little schedule for maybe like an hour or two every night to try and practice and
Trying
see
to
what I can
expand
do
our
for
audience,
this.
aren't you?
Yeah. That was
Put
the main
Japanese
intent.
subtitles in it.
No, you know what? I just thought there's a lot of what I do, whether it's watching foreign films or, you know, whatever. Just a lot of what I do that sort of, I don't want to say revolves around Japanese culture because that's untrue, but just a lot of stuff. Hold on 1 second. I actually just realized we don't have VexXxeR running as usual. So let me mute this.
As usual.
And we're going live, and here we go. If you started listening to VexXxeR just now, and you're like, oh my god, why did the show start in the middle? It's because I forgot to do the program, like always. Anyways, apologize for that. Anyways, so I just felt like, you know, I play a lot of games that are in Japanese dub, and, you know, I just, like I said, between reading and playing games and watching films and this, that, and the other, and just sort of a general interest in Japanese culture, I was like, you know what, learning Japanese would be interesting. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Is it fixed itself? Oh my god, you cut out. Hold on. You're gone. You're gone completely. It's probably because of... Hold on. I'm going to restart the call. Technical difficulties, everybody. Wouldn't be a regular Stream the Machine show if stuff didn't suck.
You good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I can hear you.
All right, cool.
Am I all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. My mother's asking me if I hit the record button. Yes, Mom, I hit the record button. It was the one thing I did remember to do. So, yeah, that's about it. I have an interest, and I'm going to try to see what I can pick up.
That's cool.
It,
When I was,
seems
I
like it's
think
going
when
to
I
be
was in
difficult,
like
but...
third grade, I taught myself how to read Braille.
Damn,
Not
that's
like with my
impressive.
fingers. I couldn't like feel it,
Right.
but I could read it. I could read the dots,
Huh. That's really
And then-
interesting.
and then I quickly forgot.
That's how it is with
Oh,
music theory for me. Since I learned how to read the notes, and because music theory really is like a language in a way.
Yeah.
You have to learn the notes. You have to learn, you know, what length is this note based on just what it looks like, and depending on how quick the note is, you got to be able to do that in a split second. You know, you got to move on. If it's an 8th note or a 16th or whatever, your next note is coming up that much faster. And you know, I was never that great, and I'm still not that great with knowing music theory because I've forgotten it all. At least forgotten how to read notes. So, and my problem with that was I didn't ever have a place to apply it. I would learn it, and then I wouldn't have a place to apply the theory, so I would just forget how to do it. So the intention here, hopefully, is I actually know two people that sort of understand / can speak, read Japanese. They studied it in college, so the goal is to learn it as much as I can, and then try to utilize it with them and try to just get better at doing it, I guess. It's definitely an ambitious goal, so we'll have to see how far it goes. Less intense, I ordered my contacts, my Canadian contacts, thanks to your recommendation. I'd already mentioned this to you, but for those of you listening, if you cared, as soon as Tony said something about the Canadian contacts last week, I think it was Monday, I finally got around to it, and I was like, you know what, I need some contacts, and so went and ordered some. They should be arriving next week. Unfortunately, I didn't have much choice in shipping. It was like $15 for the regular USPS, or $30 for some stuff that probably would have gotten it here yesterday, which would have been nice, but it was double the shipping. It is coming from Canada, so I imagine there's some kind of weird international stuff. I've ordered stuff out of country before, and it can be expensive. Usually 15 is like the minimum on what you're looking at paying, which sucks, but
unless you get like 3 weeks shipping.
Right. So it all gets cheaper as you go, like the longer you decide you want to draw it out.
Yeah.
And I just ordered something recently, and I could do like $7 shipping, but it was like over a month before I was expected to get it. It's like, at that point, it's not even always about convenience so much as it is just like, I want to know if I paid for something that it's going to show up, you know?
Like the things you buy and the shipping's so long you forget you bought it. So
right.
Then you get surprised and you're like, well, sweet, I got a package. Get excited all over again.
Oh, yeah, it's so great. A friend of mine pre-ordered something back in April, I think it was, and he said it just should be shipping here pretty soon. I was like, damn, it's almost a year that you paid for that, and I've been waiting for it. I mean, it was on pre-order, so he knew that he wasn't going to get it right away, but still was.
That's how it was with my PS4. I pre-ordered it the day they went, like they were available for pre-order back in like June. And granted, I didn't pay for it till the day it shipped.
Right. You know, I was just realizing I have this note here that I didn't.
He didn't.
I know. I had the note to remind me, and then I didn't even use it. This entire week, I'm like, what the hell is... Oh, okay, yeah. And I said it there, and then that was the last of it. Fortunately for us, I have some interesting... I don't want to know if they're facts. I guess we'll call them facts. Some interesting statistics here. The second one's going to be a little more interesting than the first, but the most YouTubed... I don't know if you want to say phrase, word, topic, I guess you could say. I have here the most searched YouTube query. This is the most searched thing on YouTube. Literally was just music. People go to YouTube, they type in music.
Just type in music.
And then they hit search. Number 2 was Minecraft. People going in, typing Minecraft and searching it. Now, as far as the next slots, I am not sure which is in what position because it doesn't specifically say here, but it says that the next 4 were movies, just movies, Frozen, Eminem, and PewDiePie, which is he's a sort of a famous game streamer online. Speaking of which, Ross and I tried to do a game stream this week, and it was a total disaster. We logged in. I had troubles getting the stream up and running. Gave us lots of issues, and then as soon as we got in, we couldn't find each other, and we kept getting killed by other players. And by the time we had all figured it out, an hour had passed, and we were just kind of in sour moods at that point. So it was not a great experience. I don't know if we'll dive back into that particular game if we ever want to try and stream again. But we'd had this idea. We were so excited, and ended up not working well. Yeah, so those, as I said, were not as interesting because they're pretty basic. I mean, I don't really understand
like
who
your
searches.
Standard 12-year-old who isn't very good at the internet, but just searches super generic stuff.
Music, there's a lot of things. I imagine not a lot of things pop up.
Yeah, Frozen.
Right. It was notable for Minecraft. Said is for people who get their advertising revenue from places like YouTube, because that means that they can gain a whole lot of money for advertising on video game videos, which is true and should not really surprise a lot of people. Now this one's a little interactive. I have the top viewed Wikipedia pages per day for every day of 2014. I want you to pick a day of a month and, just a number, and I'm going to tell you what the most searched topic was that day. I have it for the entire year.
June 6th.
June 6th. So we're scrolling down to June here. June 6th was the Normandy landings.
Okay,
People
yeah,
wanting
that
to
makes
learn about.
sense. That was June 6, 1943. So I guess that makes sense.
Was that Normandy?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
sorry.
it actually is.
I'm impressed. Yeah, I don't have a clue. A lot of World Cup here in June. I don't remember if that must have been when the World Cup was. It's like half of the months are 2014 FIFA World Cup.
Let's go with October 21st.
October 21st is malware. Wow, there's a lot of searches for malware in October, at least half of the days. And then into November, you get... Okay, so the first 7 days of... Really? This is so weird. The first 7 days of November, every single day was online shopping, was the topic that was the page that was viewed the most. Then malware for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days straight. And then Ethernet frame was on like the last 10 days of the month. What a weird trend. Tons of malware.
Ethernet frame?
I don't know. Something computer related that I apparently don't know enough about. We got Ice Bucket Challenge here, was going pretty crazy in August. A lot of Robin Williams on August 12th. I imagine that's probably the day that everyone figured out about his suicide. That's unfortunate. Sort of the same thing happened with Philip Seymour Hoffman as well. He had it looks like here February 3rd. No, 2nd. For the next couple of days, Philip Seymour Hoffman was the most Wikipedia page, I guess. What is Ethernet frame? Did you look it up?
Yeah, and it didn't really make a whole bunch of sense.
Yeah,
and it would just waste a lot of time for me to try to figure that out and then explain it.
That's quite all right. Let's see. It says here, many of the top results follow big news events. The World Cup dominates most of June. Crimea takes the top spot in early March, soon after pro-Russian forces began taking control of the peninsula. Robin Williams, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Some results are odd. Because the data measure page views and not unique visitors, they are subject to distortion from bots and software that request pages programmatically. Okay. So it's not determining unique views, meaning if you set up a bot for whatever reason to visit the one page a billion times on that day, that skewed the numbers. Says here that it probably helps explain the large amount of views for random pages like malware. Let's see, others can simply be attributed to unpredictability of the internet. Impossible Colors is the top page on January 5th, nearly 100,000 views, probably the result of a Reddit post that answers the question, can you name one thing that is and will remain impossible? Impossible Colors, what is this?
Like imagining a color outside of our spectrum.
It's already hurt my brain to try and process this. How could something exist if it's not in our... It's just
ultraviolet, gamma.
Okay.
Some stuff can actually pick that up visually, whereas we can't. So we can't even fathom what it's like.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm not even gonna use my brain with that one right now. Anyways, just a little trivia to get your brain moving, I guess, in the morning. We don't have a lot of news today, unfortunately. I couldn't really find a whole lot of interesting things, so I just got one article for us to go over here. But first, I'm going to play the sound. 404 error, page not found. My rims! Alrighty, so we have so possibly the FCC messing with definition of broadband. Again, FCC may redefine broadband. We talked earlier last year, 2014, that they changed it to, it used to be, I think, 4 megabytes up and 4 megabytes per second down and 1 megabyte per second up. and it got changed to, I believe, 10 down and 1 up as what the definition of like default broadband should have been. There's talks here that they could possibly raise the standard yet again. So it says the Federal Trade Commission, totally different thing. Federal Communications Commission may raise the speeds that qualify broadband as internet. The proposed increase comes as part of a Congress mandated annual broadband progress report. According to Ars Technica, the FCC finds that broadband is not being deployed to all Americans in a reasonable and timely fashion, especially in rural areas and on tribal lands. I don't know what that is. And in U.S. territories. Raising the standard of broadband to the suggested 25 megabytes per second download, 3 megabytes per second upload, would be quite a jump from last month's ruling, which stated that the internet service providers receiving Connect America, which was the one that was funded by the government, must offer speeds of at least 10 down and 1 up. 25 down is like what Comcast's lowest speed is. So, I mean...
It's like their second highest.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I thought that was like...
They do like 3, 5, 10, 25, 50.
Weird. I probably only ever considered the 25 or the 50, so that's probably why I assumed the 25 was the lowest, because that was the lowest for me.
Good. My parents, I think it's
crazy.
Good, yeah, because my parents live out in Brimfield in the middle of nowhere, and their high-speed internet is like 2.5.
That's insane.
Download, and they're always like, I don't know what's wrong with the computer, it's just taking forever. I was like, well, you've got six devices either streaming or surfing the internet all at once. And I was like, just the internet here is just garbage. I just
can't handle it. That's crazy.
It's like, no, we have high-speed internet. It's like, you really don't.
Pretty much anything that's past the dial-up can be considered high-speed internet, unless something like this happens where we start defining what the new minimum is. That's why I hate ISPs. Let's see. Since 2011, the benchmark for broadband, according to the FCC, has sat at just 4 megabytes per second down and 1 megabyte per second up, a speed the FCC says only 1% of rural Americans have had access to since it was made standard. Companies like AT&T and Verizon have fought the FCC's efforts to raise the standards of broadband internet, insisting that 4 megabytes down, 1 megabyte up is good enough for most Americans. I call bullshit. Especially when stuff like Netflix and Hulu and anything else becomes more of a household standard of... When Netflix first started doing digital streaming and all that kind of stuff, it wasn't a thing that everyone had. It was one of those things that was still kind of like, ooh, you have Netflix? Like, you must have money to spend. Because it was like, it seemed like such an extra thing at the time. I remember when I first had Netflix, it was a gift from my aunt. And it was the one where you would order the disc. I don't think they did digital yet. But then at one point, I think I got grounded from my parents and we got rid of Netflix. And I couldn't afford to like get it back because I didn't have enough money per month to drop $15. Now, given it's changed because they've split it. They've split the physical and the digital. So now the digital is only $7 or $8, which is much more manageable. But yeah, you know what? That thing was not that Netflix and streaming and all that kind of crap was not a thing. More than between 5 and 10 years ago. I mean, it was around, but I feel like it wasn't a major thing that we had. We're just now at a point where everyone has Netflix and everyone's got Hulu and I don't even know what else. Amazon Instant Video, Amazon Prime. I mean, there's 1,000 different things that can soak up so much of your bandwidth now compared to so the fact that we're going to say that there's been an increase in use of streaming technology, but we're going to claim that the 4 megabytes per second is still acceptable from quote unquote most of Americans. I don't believe. I mean, and it's there really is no argument because this should be obvious. Of course, AT&T and Verizon think that that's good for most Americans because it's
plenty.
Right, because otherwise we can't charge them to get the higher stuff, because what's funny about that is if that's really good enough for most Americans, then why are we paying outrageous prices for these other crazy speeds?
I remember.
What's my incentive to get the other thing? What's my incentive to get FiOS if 4 megabytes should do me, according to what Verizon has said? Yeah,
it's baloney. I forget which company it was, but they made an announcement saying that customers don't want higher speeds.
Yeah,
it's like
that sounds ridiculous.
And I guarantee you, it probably wouldn't be lying completely. They probably did a survey would you pay an extra $100?
Sure, right,
to have this speed,
right?
And everyone was like, no. So they're like, oh, people don't want it. It's just skewed and a bunch of baloney.
It is. It's and we've brought it up 1,000 times on the show. As you can tell, it's obviously something that sort of affects us. I was actually doing a speed test the other day. Did I tell you about this? I did a speed test. It was the night that Ross and I were having issues because I was having issues with the internet and I couldn't tell if it was my internet or if it was his internet. And I did a speed test and it said that I had... Now we have FiOS. But it said that I had 60 megabytes upload, which is insane. It was just as fast as our download speed. Now, I think it was probably a minor fluke. I doubt that it's that fast. Let's actually do a net test right now. With all the stuff that I've got going on right now, streaming and everything else, let's see what this claims. Because the upload speed is what allows us to do the podcast. I would be surprised if I would be able to record this kind of stuff and send it up to multiple sources if I did not have FiOS. I'm sure it would be doable, but I don't know how well the quality would be or how good the quality would be versus just being on regular Comcast high-speed internet, whatever you want to call it, broadband services. I don't even know what really is considered broadband anymore. It was such an ambiguous time. You get DSL and then cable internet, quote unquote, and then broadband. And I never really know if they were all the same thing, just a different terms for the same kind of product. Okay, so as it's showing me here, I'm getting again 55 upload speeds. So whatever.
55 for an upload?
Yeah, 55 megs. My upload is actually one megabyte faster than my download speed. But,
wow!
But see, it never works that way. It says I get 60 megabytes down, but you go download a game on Steam, and for me, I max at 7 megabytes. I also maxed on 7 megabytes.
It's megabits versus megabytes.
Right. The difference
the conversion is.
It wouldn't be. I don't think it would be. Do you think it would be that much though? 7 megabytes versus
it's usually about
50 megabits.
A tenth. Because it's usually a tenth of what they say is the actual download file.
Interesting.
Speed.
I don't know.
So I'm pretty sure there's 8 megabits on a megabyte, or 8 bits in a byte.
Really? That's interesting. Because that would further skew the numbers than I realized.
Yeah,
a lot of it has to do with...
So it should be an eighth of what your speed is. This should be the actual speed.
Just about, because 7 times 8 is 56, right? That's about what that's what my download just was. Interesting. Yeah. Well, and so the other thing, and what I always attributed to, is I always figured it could have been ports, because if you have ports blocked, it can cause certain websites to be shitty. Which is stupid. It's stupid that you have to mess with your router and stuff like that in order to get it. Whenever I look at these articles, I always see people from other parts of the world commenting, And a guy from Ireland commented on that post and was like, yeah, so I pay less than what Americans do for my internet. He gets 12 megabytes up, which isn't crazy good, but it's also not that bad, considering 1 megabyte up is now the national standard. And he gets 300 megabits down. And it's like that in a lot of other places in the world that aren't America, because they don't have caps. They don't say, well, you're only paying $100 a month, so you're only going to get your 60 megabits. They say, okay, well, you're paying for high speed internet. We offer 500 megabits per second or whatever. It's a little ridiculous, but Who knows? Who knows if we're ever going to get to the point where it's not as regulated as it is? I honestly highly doubt it. So, that's all I got. That's all I got for news. I couldn't really find anything else I thought was interesting. So,
it's a good topic.
We do have other news, though, brought to you by this man.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
This just in other news.
All right, we got a couple good ones here today, and one involving poop, thank God. Stolen cameras emailed pictures of suspects to the owner. 2 North Carolina men accused of stealing trail cameras. Trail cameras? Is that for, like, hiking and whatnot? Or no?
No, that's for, like, hunting.
Okay.
For the most part.
Yeah, it looks like this dude actually has hunting gear on. He's got camouflage, so at least either he's living in the South or... although his name is Billy Ray Green. He could be living in the South. Anyways, arrested... I'm going to start over. 2 North Carolina men accused of stealing trail cameras were quickly identified and arrested when one of the cameras continued emailing photos to the owner. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office said Billy Ray Green, 29, and Scotty Andrew Brooks, 33, allegedly stole the 2 cameras, which were both affixed to the same tree on owner Gary Howard's property in Lincoln 10 in late December. The investigators said Howard was alerted to the thefts on December 31st when one of the cameras continued to email him photos taken automatically during and after the theft, including photos of one of the suspects lounging by a Christmas tree. The sheriff's office posted... let's see here. Sheriff's office posted some of the pictures on its Facebook Wednesday, and Green and Brooks were identified within hours with more than 30 members of the public calling in tips. Green and Brooks brought the stolen cameras to the sheriff's office Wednesday night, and they turned themselves in Thursday morning to face misdemeanor charges of larceny and possession of stolen goods.
See, I've got some, I guess, an alternative story to that.
Okay. Give me your alternative story.
It's not necessarily mine, but it's where there's photos, like, you know, Logan Dunne.
I do.
He got his house broken into and they stole his iPad.
Oh, bummer.
And he had an iPhone and he had the iPhoto option turned on. So, like, shares all your photos between all your devices. And a couple weeks go by and he's getting pictures on his phone of these people taking selfies in their house. And he can see the location. You can see the location of where they're at. You can see where they live. And he took it to the cops, and they wouldn't do anything with it. Or so he says.
Huh. That's crazy. That's a bummer. Well, and so that's the thing is you're at that point, there's probably not enough evidence, you know. If you don't have the iPad, how can you prove that? I don't know. That's really weird. Yeah, they also have the... Find My iPhone or Find My iDevice features now, where if you turn it on anytime it connects to a Wi-Fi source, you can actually lock the phone remotely. And
that's what I did when I got my laptop stolen. I set that up, and then like a month and a half later, it turned on, alerted me that it shut itself off, and I went to the house that it supposedly turned on at.
Right.
And it was like a sweet old couple, like in their 70s. That were just like really scared because it was nighttime and me and my roommate walked up asking for a laptop, seeing if they had a laptop in their house. They're like,
yeah, well, I mean, so when it's locked that way, I mean, they can't even unlock it to wipe it or anything, so I'm pretty sure it essentially becomes a brick at that point, right?
I mean, you can open it up and replace the hard drive, I'm pretty sure.
I suppose that's true. On a Mac, though? Do you think? On a Mac? Was it a Mac laptop? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I put in... It came with like a 500 gig hard drive. I opened it up and put in a terabyte of my own. So, like, you can do it. It's pretty... The only things you can change on a MacBook is really your RAM and your...
hard drive, apparently.
Hard drive, yeah. That's all you can do.
Interesting. Well... I'm interested how these... Because one of these pictures that the camera took... I guess it could have uploaded them later. One of them's like when the dude's in the car, so I was like, well, shit, does it have like 3G in the camera? But I guess it could have taken a picture and uploaded it later.
It actually might. I think some trail cams actually have like a network associated with them to upload stuff, like really fancy ones.
Teens' tweets for toilet paper have been answered. You're probably thinking to yourself, I don't really know where this is going. Well, let me explain it to you. A British teenager who found he had no toilet paper after a reasonably large poop, in quotation marks here, on a train tweeted for help and was rescued by Virgin train staff. Adam Greenwood of Lancaster, England, said he was using the restroom during a Virginia train's trip last month from London to Glasgow when he realized there was no toilet paper left on the roll. Here's the tweet that he tweeted. It was, quote, "I've just had a reasonably large poop and there's no toilet roll left on the Virginia train's 7:30 train from Euston to Glasgow. Please send help." Greenwood told BuzzFeed he thought the tweet would do nothing more than make people laugh, but he quickly received a reply from the Virgin Trains staffer manning the company's Twitter account. The tweet back said, "Which coach, Adam?" The staffer, identified only as MW, had Greenwood identify the train car he was in and quickly had a roll of toilet paper sent to the restroom. Their tweet responding to him said, "We'll send some down to you." Quote, "I tweeted back the carriage number and shortly after I saw a guy looking quite worried in full black suit carrying toilet roll. After the awkward exchange and smiles, I grabbed it off him and I finished what I started." That's impressive. That is impressive that you have someone there. I mean, I guess it's someone's job. Do you think they're hired specifically? They're like, all right, you don't do anything except carry around this company phone and you answer tweets and you tweet. And I mean, hell,
sure
that's some
phone.
Yeah, sure, it could be anything, but maybe it's just a computer, maybe. But how lucky is that? That let's see what the time. Can I see timestamps? So 4:12 p.m. according approximately who knows what time, because it said it was on the 7:30 train. 4:12 p.m. was when it got sent. By 4:15, within 3 minutes, he had contacted the Twitter account. They had responded to him and said that they would send somebody with toilet paper.
Wow. That whole exchange took 3 minutes.
3 minutes for him to tweet, "Oh God, I have taken a dump and I need toilet paper." And then for the train company to be like, "All right, help is on the way." That's impressive.
Props to them.
It is. It's good word of mouth publicity as well. Because you know that guy gets off the train, he's gonna you'll never believe this story, and then everyone's gonna be riding on that train. But good for them. Good customer service is good. A little bit of unfortunate here. Lottery scratch-off winner fooled by a misprinted card.
Oh.
This I haven't. I actually chose not to read the story because I wanted to read this on the show, and I wanted to see what the hell this was about because it sounds like some guy getting ripped off here. A New Mexico man, rather. He's not New Mexican, I guess. Would you be New Mexican if you're from Mexico? If you're from Mexico, you're Mexican. If you're from New Mexico, are you New Mexican?
I think you're American.
So I guess so. But I'm a Virginian, though. People do use that. I guess we don't. So from Illinois, we wouldn't have called ourselves Illinoisans, do we? Does anyone do that?
No.
What else?
I could see we're New Mexican, or we're
Virginians. I have heard. Illinoisans, I have not heard. Floridians, I've heard.
Indianians.
Yeah, so I guess it doesn't work for everything, but New Mexican would be funny. I am New Mexican. A New Mexico man said his elation at winning more than $500,000 from a lottery scratch-off ticket turned to disappointment when he learned it was a misprint. John Wines, a recent retiree from Roswell, said he bought the scratch-off in December from a local Shell station, and he scratched a ticket to reveal 5 winning numbers, 2 of which were worth $250,000. Wines said when he took the ticket, which is stated a maximum prize of $250,000, he back to the gas station to show how he had somehow managed to win more than $500,000. I took it back. This is a quote. I took it back in and sold. She told me that is not a winner. They told me that it was a misprint and they don't pay off for misprints. Wines contacted officials with the New Mexico Lottery and received a reply via email. Quote, We did find a flaw in that particular pack of tickets, and it's been reported to our printer. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. I did complete a reconstruction of your ticket, and it was not a winner. If it was $50 or $75, I would not think about it. John Wine said, but this is $500,000. That's $500,000. It's like I told them, I didn't misprint it. I bought the ticket in good faith thinking I had won, if I won... why can't I read? I bought the ticket in good faith thinking if I won, I was going to get money, and they told me no. They absolutely positively told me no. The New Mexico Lottery has offered Wines $100 worth of tickets as compensation. Wines said that his wife, Maria, who once won $100,000 from the Indiana Lottery, told him to put the incident behind him. She told me to forget it. She says they're never going to pay me. That's
a bummer.
It is a bummer. Oh man. I mean, if you realize there's a misprint in your product and your whatever you're doing, there's a problem. Recall those things. Maybe they didn't know where it was. It seems very disingenuous for them to say, "Well, we know there's a problem, but we guess we were just going to let some schmuck get unlucky," you know?
Just hope the ticket actually didn't get bought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of dumb. I think it kind of upsets me. On the same token, you know, do we expect everyone to pay out every misprint? You know, like certain companies would. So you know, you go to a Walmart and something's mislabeled, and you walk up and you complain enough that your, you know, whatever was sitting on the $10 rack and not the $20 one like it should have been. Sure, at some point or another, I think they will eventually cave. A lot of businesses will. That's how we did it at the theater. Someone complains enough, sure, we'll get you a refund. But usually there's a threshold. It's a lot of money, I guess, to hand out that they probably don't have normally. You know, $500,000. Because if it is a misprint, that means there is a winning ticket somewhere. So you would have to pay out to two people.
I mean, that's happened before. And then they just split.
I don't know. It is a bummer. I would be upset myself. I don't know if you could press charges or any kind of thing like that. I don't know where the lottery falls on irreputable...
Emotional distress.
Yeah, pretty much. We've had a couple of these articles before. We have yet another. Naked woman rescued from a chimney. Seems that we had a couple chimney articles last year, but here's yet another starting off 2015. Firefighters in California rescued a naked woman who became stuck in her estranged husband's chimney while trying to get into his home to see their children. Tony Hernandez of Woodcrest told authorities in Riverside County he had heard his wife's voice calling for help just prior to 5 a.m. He searched for her in front and backyards before she shouted that she was stuck in the chimney. The Riverside County Fire Department said that they had to make a hole in the brick chimney to free the 35-year-old woman who told rescuers that she had shed her clothing in an attempt to fit down a 1 foot by 1 foot chimney. The woman said she had knocked on the door 1 foot by 1 foot. I don't have anything. I have a package of crackers here. I don't know if this is how long.
I'll say that's probably 8 inches.
Right, so we're looking at maybe this. So a package of crackers plus this much, maybe? I don't know. A 1 foot by 1 foot. That's really small.
Yeah. Like, there could be some females out there that could fit.
Sure, but yeah.
But that's like 5% of the population. Adult-wise.
I don't know who... it doesn't have a picture of her, really. There is a picture of her legs. Let me send you this. I'm surprised that they showed this. I'm going to send this to you on Facebook. Surprised they showed this, and somehow we're able to not get her private bits in the picture, because the picture is of her legs stuck in the chimney. If you go up much further, you're in X-rated territory. The woman said she had knocked on the door and tried the doorbell before her chimney climbing attempt. Hernandez told investigators he did not want his wife in the house. but she sometimes stopped by asking to see the couple's 3 children. He said the children were not at home at the time of the incident. The woman was taken to a hospital with moderate injuries. It was unclear whether she would face any charges for the incident. Are you kidding me? I guess if he doesn't want to press charges.
Yeah, I mean, I would make her pay for the chimney.
Yeah, they had to rip that thing open.
But, I mean, that's just weird.
And it's trespassing. It's, oh my God. What did she think? Well, I guess my problem is trying to rationalize someone who tried to slip down a chimney in the first place. That really is what I should not be doing. But let's pretend that she makes it down and out of the chimney in the first place. What now? You're there to see your kids, you're covered in soot, and you're naked from head to toe. What is your game plan now? Like, I feel maybe that was the problem. Maybe there was no game plan.
To terrify your children?
I guess.
Hey, sweetie!
Santa Claus is coming late this year. So weird. Whatever, though. I guess you'd do anything for your kids. It brings us to a couple of would you rather questions. We have a few minutes extra to spare today, too. We've made it here in good time, which means hopefully we can answer a few other ones. Let's see, what's a good thing for this? We'll do this.
Can't have sex with bones.
Thank you, Cha. Let's see. Here we go. Would you... Okay. And I've got an answer for this question, I guess. Would you rather be orange like the people on Jersey Shore or have skin as white as snow?
Skin is...
Mega
skin
fake
is
tan.
snow.
Or super... Now, it's funny because they show a picture here of a couple of girls on a beach who, I guess, look white as snow. They're all pretty gorgeous women, and none of it looks bad. Like, so I don't understand what's bad about the white as snow here. Yeah, I would say the same, because I am, Like, the camera makes me look a little bit whiter than usual because all the light's reflecting off my face, but I definitely am pretty white. I'm okay with that. I don't need to be orange. A tan looks nice, but...
Yeah, I would have to go white as snow, too.
Okay.
So you're like albino.
Yeah. Now. Okay. I think I have an answer for this one as well. Would you rather have a personal gourmet chef? So we'll say this is a man who, at any time, you're chilling, you go... I would really like this food, and you name it, and he goes right away, and he goes downstairs or wherever, and he makes the food, and then he comes and serves it to you, and it's great. You love it every time. Or a personal masseuse, who will, I guess, just give you massages at any point that you want.
I would go... Never had a massage, but I eat a lot of food. So I would go chef.
I don't know. As much as I like food, I can easily throw something in the microwave, whereas I cannot easily massage myself. I think I would go with a personal masseuse. I honestly do. I'd come home every day, lay down for 30 minutes, get massaged, and then start the night. I mean, wake up every morning.
Wake up to a massage.
Yeah, I mean, it was... I think I would be okay, I think, with a personal masseuse. Having a gourmet chef would be nice for the food. But, now here's the one time that I would go with the chef over the masseuse, is if the chef could make me healthy meals that I was still really into, like taste-wise, and not feel like I had to eat a bunch of junk food. So if he was like also like my personal trainer, then I would be okay with it.
So that's what I was saying. It's like, yeah, a chef could make healthy food taste good. I make healthy food taste like nothing.
I know. That's the only reason I don't eat healthy is because it all tastes like garbage. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Oh wait, I didn't. You know what?
I'm getting hungry, Jake.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't select and look at the. How stupid am I? I didn't look at our answers here. So for the first one, orange like Jersey Shore or white as snow. 34% out of 130,000 said that they would rather be orange. 66% said that they would rather be white as snow.
Good.
Looking at the personal masseuse, or the chef, this is interesting. 56% of 100,000 said that they wanted personal chef. 44% said they, wanted a personal masseuse. All right, let's take a look at what our other options are here. Let's see, what would be... That's a stupid one. Wow, that one's also pretty bad. Okay. Here we go. Would you rather give up using your computer? So no computer use. The computer you have, gone. This podcast, done. Or...
Even the phone?
No, only your computer. I'm going to say it's literally just the computer and everything that you could do. So no more computer gaming. You could PS4 game if you wanted to, but you cannot computer game. You can't use your computer for anything, but you can use your phone, you can use your consoles, you can use something else. But you personally can never own or have a computer, use a computer again. And let's pretend that you don't have a job that requires it. Or, give up watching your TV, which means, I'm going to say watching your TV means watching anything, like TV-wise. So you're giving up computer use versus, or like, you know, for, I guess, I'm trying to think of how to balance this out.
Like, can I stream Netflix on my laptop?
See, that's what I'm curious. Okay, so it says just here, would you rather give up using your computer or watching your TV? The thing is
I'll give up watching my TV.
Right, because you could use everything on the computer, but I feel like that's cheating. I don't know. That might be a bad one to do. I can't figure out how to justify
Not enough
it.
parameters.
Yeah. Okay, here's another good one. Would you rather always eat meat or never eat meat? So if you always eat meat, you cannot have anything. You can't have chips. You can't have something that's not meat that you really like. You are only ever going to eat meat. Or...
Can I season the meat? Can I marinate it?
With yes.
Like,
Yep.
Okay. I'll go meat.
And then
No hesitation.
The other option is never eat meat, which is everything but. I would probably do the same. Assuming that I could afford it. I'm sure.
I mean, there's like... You could make some really thin, crispy jerky to work as chips.
That's true. I've had squid jerky before.
Ew.
It sounds gross, but it's okay. It tastes. It's basically like it's like regular jerky that kind of smells like fish, but not as. I don't know. The one I had was very like orange looking. It was interesting. It was a buddy of mine at work had it. It wasn't bad though. I don't know if I would particularly buy it and eat it, but it wasn't bad.
I have a large variety of meat in my freezer right now. I have tilapia, chicken breast, steak, alligator, and mallard.
I've only had duck once, and I wasn't a fan. I would have to try it again. It's been years. Did you say snake or steak?
I said steak.
I was like you
cow.
have snake in there.
I did say alligator.
Alligator is interesting, and there was one other interesting. Oh, no, tilapia. I love tilapia. So good.
Yeah.
Alligator would be interesting. Have you had the alligator yet?
I've not. It's like, I want to deep fry it, and I don't have a deep fryer, so now it's just in the freezer till then.
Let's see. Let's do one more here. Okay, here we go. Last one. Should be easy. It's not too deep. Would you rather have a yacht or a personal jet?
Personal jet. Ooh, I don't know. Ooh.
Did I get the numbers on the last one?
I don't know.
I did. The meat one. Let's see how. So we click meat. 62% of 125,000 said that they'd rather eat meat. Why am I off my game today? Like not remembering anything. Yacht or personal jet? So I'm going to say with a yacht, you could still travel everywhere that you could with a personal jet.
It would take longer.
Yes, that's the trade-off. It would take much longer, but arguably, I guess, could be more luxurious, maybe. Maybe, because I guess there probably are some personal jets that are pretty crazy when it comes to luxury.
I think I'd still go personal jet or private jet because being able to be like, yeah, you want to go to Mexico for lunch? It'd be kind of cool. Like just let's go hang out in New York for the day. Just fly up there.
That's true. With the yacht, you couldn't get inland anywhere. You'd have to stay on the coast.
Like we live in Illinois, we could just hang out on the Illinois River. Like, woo!
That's it. Not going anywhere.
So I can't really do much with the yacht.
The yacht seems more relaxing to me, to be honest, though.
It does. But I would never... I could use the yacht for like 4 months out of the year where I live.
Yeah. The yacht sounds really good to me right now. If I could get a source of electricity, look up like my computer or something. Shit, I could do the podcast on a yacht. It would be awesome.
I can do the podcast on a jet.
That's true. On a boat. Okay, well, let's figure out what the numbers are.
I could jump out of my plane with a parachute and land on your yacht.
Yeah, there we go. Well, we'll
you can't shoot out of a cannon into my plane.
That's true. It would hurt if I did. 120,000 votes. 44% said that they would much rather have a yacht, whereas 56% said that they would much rather have a personal jet. So it seems like the jet people have their heads screwed on a little better than the yacht people do. Alrighty, well that brings us to our first break, and ever closer to our extra special secret guest. What am I looking for here?
I don't know if it's all that secret if you announce it on Facebook.
Well, it's secret for people who don't know who he is, because they're like, Kevin, who the hell is Kevin? I don't know who that is. But he's got an interesting topic for us today. So, well, we're going to play our first song. This is, I believe, completely instrumental. It's by a band/artist called VexXxeR. And I did not pick this because the song is called Happy New Year. Despite it being the new year, I just picked it because I was like, I wanted something different, and it just happened to be called Happy New Year. It's off the album called Power Industrial. It's sort of a like heavy electronic / industrial, but not like really guitar heavy like you'd think with like Nine Inch Nails or something like that. So it's the industrial. It's the other side of industrial, I guess. But we will play this. When we come back, we will have the guest, and we will have lots to talk about for the next probably hour or so. So we will see you on the other side.
Wet your whistle. Lip quencher. Wet your whistle with the wet, wonderful colors of Lip Quencher. There's no lipstick quite like Lip Quencher. Created by Chapstick, drenched with moisturizers, so your lips feel as good as they look. Lip Quencher. Wet your whistle.
She cannot be a human.
Tomatoes were like black, and tomatoes aren't supposed to be black.
You are listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast.
Welcome back to the show. And thankfully for that quip, we now have this.
Wet your whistle.
Use whenever we feel like it. Well, so we have a guest right now. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes, can I be heard?
You can be heard.
All right, I'm not seeing, I don't think my video's working.
Can
you see me?
Oops. Is there a little camera button you need to press?
It told me when
whole technology thing.
It told me when he popped up that it may not be compatible with video.
Yeah, really? It's probably just because I have an iPad, since the computer here doesn't have a camera or anything.
So
maybe that's
still
the reason.
Weird because I would have thought it would have.
Yeah, same
popped
here.
Up still. Weird, interesting.
Yeah,
well,
I don't want to play around with this too much so that I don't accidentally hang up.
No, it's quite all
but
right.
Anyway,
well, welcome to the show. This is our friend Kevin Dunne. We actually, so I guess a little backstory here. Tony's known Kevin for much longer than I have. I met Kevin at the theater. There was a group of what I would consider probably the hardest workers at the theater. Tony was one of them, Kevin was the other, and then Logan was the other. That were my favorites as far as who I could count on to get things done. We recently talked to Kevin and was like, you know what, it'd be fun to have him on the show. What could we talk about? And Kevin has particular views on particular subjects that we're going to talk about today. I think we'll find fascinating for everybody. So tell us, Kevin, what have you brought to us? What have you brought to us as for what we're going to talk about?
So the thing that I would call disdain for the most in this world is the MPAA, which the reason I chose this before I talk more about it is basically what you just said. You, Tony, and I, we all worked at the theater, so this is kind of a thing I thought would be kind of cool to talk about since we all have, in some way or the other, some knowledge or experience about this.
Sure.
But the MPAA, what they do is they basically put ratings on movies. So when you see a rating like this film's rated R, blah, 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 the MPAA, they're the ones who come up with those ratings. So a little bit of background just before I start talking about it, just so you guys or listeners, anyone else kind of has some knowledge about it. The MPAA was founded in 1922, and back then, this is when films were first, becoming popular.
Right.
So the purpose back then was just basically to make sure that Hollywood could still get that financial backing from Wall Street. They weren't as big and powerful as they were back then as they are now. So the MPAA was founded just basically trying to get some money from Wall Street, trying to make sure that films were wholesome. So, think back to 100 years, values then, different from values now. So as time moved on, the film industry grew, morals changed, all that. The MPAA basically was trying to make sure that films still had that concept of being wholesome. There wasn't a lot of sexuality, a lot of violence in there. And they spoke out, and this is one thing I'll touch on later, but they spoke out against censorship. So when films were edited, a lot of times, way back then, they'd have to cut out certain scenes that contained, sexuality, violence, anything that wasn't quote-unquote wholesome.
Sure.
So a lot of films didn't make sense because if somebody made a film with anything in it, they just cut it out. So it was released, and people would be like, oh, this film doesn't make sense. There's a big gap here. So the MPAA was trying to speak out against that. Eventually, they came up with this idea of a seal of approval. So basically, it was like a do's and don'ts of things you can have in films. And if you didn't have those things, then you couldn't release your film. Or if you did, you had to pay like a $25,000 fine. And this was back, 20s and 30s. So that's tons and tons of money now, but also even more money back then. So later, this was, I think, in the 60s, a guy named Jack Valenti came up with the rating system we know now. Real brief, it's G, which means basically anybody can see it. PG, parent guidance, PG-13, 13 and under. And then R, 17 and above. And then NC-17, which basically means it's really adult content and no one over or under 17 can see it.
Interesting.
And that's the thing which was really kind of messed up, and I'll talk about that in a second. But that's basically the 5-minute history of the MPAA. So did you guys have any questions on that, or should we just kind of get right into it?
Just before we jump into it, do we have anything that actually gets released in the United States under NC-17?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I was going to talk about. So,
okay. I don't want to preempt your thing. Go ahead and...
Oh, no, that's fine. So, NC-17 movies, basically any content that has, like, full frontal nudity or, suggestive themes in terms of sexuality, those movies just get the NC-17 label, and it's basically a death warrant. So you'll never see an NC-17 movie in any conventional theater, like at the rave. We'll never have an NC-17 movie. And the reason for that is because just every film company, or theater company, I should say, in the United States, has agreed, if a film's NC-17, we won't show it. And I guess this is a good way to start this conversation. So in NC-17 movies, it's not because a film's overly violent. So a film can be as violent as you want.
Right.
You can have all the blood and gore and death and all that in it as you want. It'll be rated R. But the thing for me that causes a problem is that once you show, even it's like a 2-second scene of anything, below the waist nudity, it'll get slapped with an NC-17, basically 9 times out of 10. So it's that which causes the NC-17 label. It could be, a clean-cut film, no violence, basically no language in it. But as soon as you have, the slightest or excessive theme of nudity, or you're talking about a certain theme, the MPAA will put that labeling, rating on it, and it'll basically kill the film. And I know you guys, was it last podcast or maybe 2 podcasts ago, you guys were talking about how you started to watch South Park?
Yes.
It's
been.
Have you seen any of the movies that Matt and Trey have made?
Just Team America. With Team America, I actually have read about how they put some crazy things in there to make everything else seem not as crazy, so they could sort of include the content they wanted but not get, an unacceptable rating. To sort of loud. But I think I saw maybe Orgasmo at one point, and I don't think I've never seen Basketball.
So you've seen Orgasmo. So
been a long time, but yes.
Yeah, but so there's no nudity in the film at all. But it's rated NC-17. I don't know if you were aware of that.
I wasn't. No, I definitely would have thought it was rated R, maybe, but
yeah. So when you watched it, I don't know how long ago it was, but there wasn't like anything bad about it, right?
Aside from just, I guess, the plot being around revolving sex.
Yeah, but like they didn't show anything, but it still got the rating. So one thing the MPAA does is that you make a film, you submit it to them, and they have this panel of parents because the organization is centered around, parents are putting these labels on kids. and nobody knows who the parents are. So it's just for anonymity. I think I said the word right. So no one, can say, oh, this parent's on here, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But, so you send the film in, the parents watch it, and they're supposed to have kids, right? Because all the ratings are centered around what can kids watch, what can't kids watch.
Makes sense.
So you send it in, and they said, oh, my kid, won't want to see this. So they put the label on it. But when Orgasmo was made, it was an independent film. They didn't have a big studio behind them. So because of that, they got the rating, and a lot of other independent filmmakers have kind of made this accusation against the MPAA that because, they're not associated with Disney, Paramount, Sony,
right?
Any of those film companies, that the MPAA isn't as helpful. They'll say, okay, you need to fix things in your films, but they won't tell you what it is because they're supposed to be a third-party organization. So they can't say, oh, you need to change this line. And Trey and Matt, when they made Orgasmo, they had that same problem. They'd say, this script isn't acceptable. You have to change things. They'll say, oh, what do we need to change? And they'll say, oh, we can't tell you that. But then when they made the South Park movie, they were doing it, I can't remember what studio. Maybe it was Fox. I can't really remember. But they were in one of those big film companies.
Right.
So when they were making the South Park movie and they sent in the script, they said, oh, okay, you need to change this line to this, or maybe, change this to this. And in the South Park movie, you guys have watched it?
I have
not.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
I actually have not seen it. I have it, but I haven't seen it.
Well, not to ruin anything, but there's a scene in the film where they find out that Cartman's mom is in German Scheisse films.
Okay.
So the MPAA was that scene. I can't even remember what it was before, but it was something like a little itty bitty joke, and they didn't like it. So just change it to something. So they changed it to that, which was 20 times worse. But they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. So it's just riddled with all these contradictions,
right?
And just really unbiased. There's a lot of nepotism there, so they favor basically the big studios. So I guess my first question, the build up for all this, is that we have all these ratings, and they really don't seem to make sense half of the time. So when a movie is rated R, do you think kids should be allowed to go in there even though they're not of age? So do you think parents should be responsible for talking to their kids about a movie, before and after they see it? So if someone went to go see, I don't know, what's a movie that's out, Tony?
I haven't worked in theater in 3 weeks.
All right, so let's say it's 2006 and Pineapple Express is out.
Okay.
So let's say a kid's going to go see Pineapple Express and they're 15, and their parents, they said, okay, I'll buy you the ticket, blah, 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 blah. So the kid comes out of the movie, and do you think the parent should have a conversation okay, it's a film, realize that, and drugs are bad, all that stuff? So do you think that should be a thing parents should do? Because the rating system, so just because a movie is PG-13, they can still get away with a lot of stuff. So do you think the rating system that we have in place is accurate or fair?
I don't know. You've brought up multiple times about sort of the double standards, and I definitely believe that they exist. And I guess I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if it was going to, if this led into any other questions. So I'm going to ask you first. Do you have any other questions that where we talk about violence versus sexuality?
Yeah. So
because if that's the case, then I will save that. I will save that part of my response for later.
Let's just do that now, because the question I had is, do you think violence or nudity is worse? Because for me, that's what the rating system comes down to. Essentially,
that's what it seems like, at least. It's a really good question, because my gut reaction to asking, if you're going to say I mean, if we're talking about movies specifically, what seems worse? My answer is nudity, but not because maybe necessarily I think so, but probably because that's just the way America is. You know, that's the way that we perceive things, is that, you know, you can go see something like Lord of the Rings or something in B-rated PG or PG-13, and you're chopping orcs' heads off and all this other kind of stuff. But as soon as you show a boob, you know, or too much of a boob, or something else,
then you're in the danger zone.
Exactly, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, so the first thing that pops in my head anytime this ever comes up, and it's essentially the age-old comparison, and who knows if it's even like, you know, a fair enough argument, is would you rather your child see someone taking a life or making a life? And that's
a valid point.
It's interesting. I don't know, and like I said, I don't know how comparable it is, but you know, the reason movies. The only comparison or the only way I can try and break that down as to why maybe we think nudity is worse is because when you see nudity in a film, I mean, you're seeing. Does anybody else hear that?
The pinging?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
you know what?
Kind of like a microwave.
Yeah, give me a moment. I'm going to see if that's something outside or if that's a fire alarm. Oh, wait, it's off. I'm still going to go check. You guys just talk for a second. Don't talk about the topic because I'm in the middle of it. I'll be right back.
Okay. How's Illinois, Tony?
Cold.
Hey, we have a cold front down here of like 40 degrees.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? It got to like -8, I think.
Dang. You guys have like half a foot of snow?
Probably at the most we had like 5 inches. Some of it's like melted and blown off by now.
Huh.
That's good.
Yeah.
How was your drive?
It was pretty good. I actually drove through like Missouri through Arkansas or Little Rock. So I didn't sleep the whole time this time. I actually had to drive. But it was a pleasant drive. It was nice.
Right, I'm going to mark this down in the timer so I'm going to edit this part out, I guess. Edit out the pause. Already, it was an auto glass repair thing backing up on the other side of the street. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, so the only thing I can think of to sort of invalidate the claim, like, would you rather see someone making a life or taking a life, is the fact that if you see nudity on the screen, it's nudity. Whether you see it in real life or screen, it's nudity. When you see violence on the screen, it doesn't seem, quote unquote, as bad because it's fake. You're assuming, at least, unless you're watching a snuff film, you're assuming that what you're viewing has been a sort of a fabrication, a fantasy. You understand that it's not real, and so it lessens the blow of what it actually is. Whereas you don't look at boobs and go, well, those boobs aren't, you know, maybe they aren't real, but they're still boobs in the same way that you would be if it wasn't real. I don't know. So that's the only thing I can think, is that you can't diminish the impact of nudity by having it on screen or off screen, versus where you actually can diminish theoretically, the impact of violence if it's on screen, because you're thinking, oh, well, this isn't real, it's not actually happening, while the portrayal might be the same, or might even be more gory, I guess, than it would be in life. I don't know. It's a tough one, because I feel like my answer to say that nudity seems to be more risque is only because that's just how we treat it. You know, like it's the general opinion is it's so much worse to see that. I mean, I guess we've talked about it with the just the rating system, is that, you know, you can drop language here and there, you can show dudes fighting and blood and all this other kind of stuff, but as soon as you start to show naked bodies, you know, which is a naked body is a natural thing, versus a dude cutting another guy in half, which is kind of, you know, violent and grotesque.
It's a non-natural or something I guess, not in our human nature.
Right.
So, you're not like always like, yeah, I'm gonna, punch this guy or whatever. But
Right.
I think again, it kind of goes back to that double standard is that, nudity, or I guess maybe if I don't say nudity, but maybe sexuality. So if you portray that in a film, you don't see that all the time. And films that typically, approach this idea in a really serious, realistic manner. There's a lot of good films about this stuff. But then you go back to the rating system, they're going to get an NC-17 slapped on it, which basically will just kill the movie.
Right.
So because of this rating system is in place, I think it limits us as a culture, as a society, whatever you want to say, but it limits how we look at things. So, you can have a violent film, it's going to be released. But if you have a film that, takes a serious look at an issue regarding something that deals with sexuality, anything like that, people aren't going to be as exposed to it just because of the rating.
I did want to bring up, and it's not specifically talking about nudity, but I think this is probably one of the more, I don't know if it's relatable per se, but when it was a big thing, I think when the King's Speech came out, that there was a rated version and the regular. Well, they had the rated R version, and I believe they had a PG-13 version, or maybe even a PG version, or I can't remember. But it was because there was one scene where he just lets expletives fly, because it's part of the story of them trying to say, well, this is how he sort of overcame his speech impediment. This is how the doctor sort of helped him therapeutically get through it. And throughout the rest of the film, it's all PG content, it's very low rated. It's not risque in any way, but the fact that for 10 seconds he says the F-bomb, says the C word, says all these other worse things. And I remember it being sort of a topic of interest because at the time, I believe in Europe when it was rated, it was not rated poorly, or not rated poorly. I don't believe the rating was increased to prevent younger people from seeing it because it wasn't like that scene was meant to be offensive, It wasn't him saying, well, that effing dude over there. It was literally the coach saying, you don't stutter when you cuss, so go ahead and say some swear words. And so he yells it off, and it makes sense to the story, and it's not used to, it's like I said, it's not a gangster saying, F that C word over there, or something like that.
It actually progressed the story. But again, back to the ratings, it cut it out. So like when it was first founded, when people could see films and there were parts cut out, like that makes no sense. Kind of goes back to that same idea. So the MPA was founded basically to limit or stop censorship, but you see them today basically censoring what people can and can't say in a movie, or what people can see or not see in a movie.
It's interesting because it seems like it's more of a math equation than it is an actual evaluation of what's going on. How many times does he say this word? Okay, that's where we need to make the mark. Not how much does this affect the audience?
Yeah, so like in a PG-13, you can say the F word 1 to 2 times, but the way you say it can't be, sexually, like I'll go F that person.
Right.
Like, F yourself. Like that would be acceptable. The other one would not. It's weird.
It's interesting. I don't know. It definitely. Tony, what are your thoughts on any of this here? On this so-called MPA?
It's just, for me, it just drives me nuts that a PG-13 movie can have death and can be super violent, all that stuff. But as long as they don't have blood, then
it was even.
You're fine.
Not to cut you into your thing, but I wanted to bring it up. John Carter, specifically, if I remember correctly, had blue blood because that was less of like an offense to like the rating system. So they could show a Disney film with PG-13 with blue blood or purple or whatever it was, as long as it wasn't red, because it was helping them skirt under the ratings, from what I read. Now, it could be completely falsehood. They just wanted aliens having blue blood. I don't know. But from what I read, they genuinely just had to change the color in order to make sure that it kept under the ratings, because blue blood, and if you think about it, I mean...
Blood is blue.
It makes sense when you think about, because it distances us from the reality of it. If you see someone slashed and a gallon of blue blood comes flying out, you don't think, like, you immediately are displaced from that, because you think, it's blue, it's not real. It's just, it could be anything. It's obviously blue food coloring. Whereas when you see a gallon of red blood fly out there, you're like, oh. And even if we understand, like, the reasons, it still sort of stands that it does actually have an effect. Because I thought about that after I saw John Carter. I was like, yeah, you're right. There was a lot of blue blood getting slashed around. Had it been red blood, it would have been a lot more... Like, I think I would have been shocked, be like, wow, there's a lot of violence in this movie. But as soon as you change the color of it, it, for whatever reason, seems less detrimental, because of, I guess, like I said, that disconnect from what we perceive as being a realistic portrayal.
Yeah. There was a really good documentary, I want to say 2006, and I believe it is on Netflix, because that's where I first saw it, but it's called This Film Not Yet Rated.
Okay.
And basically, when a film has no rating, so, like on advertisements for a movie, you'll see This Film Not Yet Rated. That's because it's in the process of being submitted to the MPAA.
Right.
And some films are released without a rating. So if you have no rating on a movie, so not NC-17, but no rating, then... Again, theaters won't accept it. And that's because you can choose to accept the rating on a movie, or you can not to. And if you say, no, I don't accept this R rating, then your film becomes not rated. So in the documentary, basically you had all these independent filmmakers talking about, my movie talked about this, my movie talked about that. And what it boiled down to was that the MPAA was like, no, we don't like this theme, things like that. So they got NC-17 ratings, or they didn't get ratings. And in part of the documentary, they did, I guess, an investigative journalism kind of a deal, where they infiltrate the MPAA and they find out the parents who are on that ratings board. So on the ratings board, first of all, you're supposed to have a kid. Okay. They're supposed to be under 18, because all the ratings go up to 18. And what they found was that 75% of the parents on that board either didn't have kids or had kids, well into college and all that. So, again, kind of goes back to, it's basically insider trading, and the MPAA is just kind of a shadowy organization, and they control what we watch, but there's no self-regulation for it. So it's not like, every X amount of years they get new members on the board.
Right. That's interesting.
So,
Are they considered a... they're not a government organization.
They're not. But the current president, I don't know his name, but he is a former senator. So even though they're not a part of the government, and they have a lot of pull in kind of government issues, and they back a lot of politicians. So when SOPA and PIPA came up, whenever that was,
right? Sure, sometime
they had a heavy hand in that, and people who didn't vote how they wanted to, they pulled campaign or they pulled funding for them. So even though they're not a government organization, they still have a lot of political power. So even though there's not a lot internally we know about them,
right,
which is kind of scary, I guess in a way. Or maybe not scary, but disturbing, because they ultimately decide, I guess, what is acceptable for audiences to view.
For an organization that controls, literally everything we see.
Yeah, it's Hollywood, so
to not have any kind of regulation, or to not really know much about it, or to have people not really even thinking about it, to just say, Yeah, well, that movie's rated what it is, and then not kind of break down like why it's actually rated the way it is. I don't know. It's really fascinating that that's not something on our radar. Not even as I mean, I was definitely, I'm aware of the MPAA, and there's times when I see something and I'm like, that's interesting, and you kind of like try to see why something's rated one way or another, and but you know, it's even for being someone who's worked at a theater, it definitely has not been something that I've thought about, you know, up until this point of like how in depth we've discussed it today, and it's, I don't know, it definitely is. It definitely is sort of surprising and shocking that there's not more that we've kind of done to try and regulate. You know, I mean, because there's lots of comparisons. I think to America and Europe, you know, with their rating system. You know, how it seems like Europe definitely has a sort of a lighter view.
Yeah, and
on
it's
sexuality.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. It's basically, you know, like we're a very, you know, Christian society, so, you know, obviously if there's nudity, we're like, nope, can't have that.
Right.
Or, you know, it's going to be very limiting. And in Europe, you know, they're much more free, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it, or they're not as restrictive in those kind of thoughts or ideas. So that really reflects, you know, how they view film or other things versus how we view it.
Do you know if they view violence in the same sort of like, you know, not so bad kind of way that we do, or is it like overall just kind of a little bit more lax, or at least rated on like the situation, you know, rather than just, like I said, like a number of like, oh, too many heads rolled in this movie, it's rated R.
Yeah. Well, that I don't know for sure, but if I were to guess, I would say that they probably would treat violence more seriously, because if you think historically, you know, we've had 2 world wars fought over there, and we've had countless other wars in Europe, you know, throughout history and even within the past 100 years. So I think because maybe they've been exposed to more violence, they're going to be more mindful of it, if that makes sense.
It does.
Because the United States is 230 years old, you know, compare it to China, Great Britain, who are hundreds of years old. So I guess they have seen more violence, so as a people, they might not be as, you know, dismissive of violence.
Right, it would make sense. And I'd heard that before, but I never knew if it was 100% true. It just sounded like a statistic someone would make up, you know, like, oh yeah, boobs are on TV everywhere in Europe, but you can't cut a guy's throat, or something like that, you know.
Yeah, and that I can't really say one way or the other for sure.
Sure, because we don't live there. We're not watching their TV.
One thing, kind of this is the reason why I started to think about it more seriously recently. Over break, I worked at the theater. And Tony, you might have been here for this day. I don't know if you heard it.
What happened?
The movie Into the Woods, which is, I think, rated PG. So it's like a happy, you know, lovey-dovey kind of musical. So, you know, it's a kid's movie. And during the trailers, there was a trailer for the movie 50 Shades of Grey, which is the opposite of Into the Woods.
Yes.
And a parent came out complaining, and I heard it over the radio, and I just lost it. Right? So this woman was just super, super mad because her little, like, 8-year-old daughter just saw a trailer for a guy just having sex with, like, 80,000 women. And I thought that was kind of funny. Which may say a little bit about me as a person, but whatever.
It's always funny, especially when it's not our kid.
Yeah. So I just thought, you know, like, you can rate a movie PG, but then just like, yeah, here's a trailer for unrated R movie, but, you know, it's a green band trailer, which means there's no language, versus a red band trailer, which means, you know, you can swear and all that in it.
Right.
So, and that just goes back to the idea we were just talking about, like, as a society, we're kind of more Puritan, I guess, about seeing nudity or seeing these ideas portrayed about it. So I just think that was kind of a weird standard that we have.
Yeah, it's... I'm trying to think of any instances like that would have been when I worked there, but... Because, I mean, occasionally, you do get questionable trailers on certain things. That does kind of surprise me that they would show any rated R trailer on anything that wasn't maybe even like a PG-13 film. You say it was rated PG?
I'm pretty sure it's PG. PG-13 at the most, but I would say I'm 80% sure it's PG.
There was no nudity, so probably PG.
It was PG.
But, so it's... I don't know. And I don't even know what to say about 50 Shades of Grey, because I feel like it's the dumbest idea for a book as well as the dumbest idea for a movie.
Yeah.
And just whatever. So I am biased, unfortunately, against ever saying anything good about that. I felt like I had something particular I wanted to say, but now I don't really remember what it was.
I was just curious. So when like a DVD or something has a release that includes like the special unrated edition, is that just a cut they made themselves and just didn't send to the MPAA?
That one, I guess it would just depend from movie to movie. And again, this is something I'm not 100% sure of. For some movies, I can say for sure yes or no. Did you ever see Sex Drive?
I did not.
All right. Have you, Jake?
I think like the last part of it, when he shows up at a hotel or a motel. I think that's all I really remember.
So there's two versions of Sex Drive. One is just the regular movie, and then there's the unrated version, and it's the exact same movie, scene for scene. But there's like 5 or so scenes where you just have randomly just like full frontal nudity, just like girls walking by naked or a guy walking by naked. And like in the beginning of the movie, like the director's sitting in a chair, like the difference between the movie rated and unrated is you'll see a lot of this, and then like camera move over, fully naked woman, and then a lot of this moves over, fully naked guy. So that's for some movies, yeah. It's just because, again, more nudity. So it couldn't get the rated R. So they just release it unrated version. Or they just have, because sometimes it's a gimmick to be like, oh, it's an unrated, like World War Z has an unrated version.
It's just different. Okay. It's literally just a different cut, right? Like it's it's just never. It always makes me laugh because I mean I guess you can assume on certain ones, like I don't know, Superbad or something that maybe there's an extra scene where there's something not really great for theaters to be showing, but like with the World War Z one or can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but it literally means what it says. It is an unrated cut. It genuinely just means that this has not been rated. Doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily in there to make it worse than what it was. I mean, hell, it could even be better. You could technically probably edit everything out and make it into a 5-minute film and then call it a film, but then since it never actually got rated, it's not technically rated. And so it really, most of the time when I hear about unrated cuts, I immediately am thinking it's probably because, it's just a gimmick. It's just there to sell me on the fact that, that they had to cut for time, not content. They had to cut for time, and so now I'm getting all the extra crap that wasn't necessary getting included in there.
Yeah, there's probably, I'd say, like one film ever, and it's not even an unrated version, but there's like one film. It was called Pirate Radio. There's 2 versions of it. Have you seen it, or?
No, I think I've heard of it. Is that relatively new, like a couple years?
It was 2009. It's one of my favorite movies, like ever. Okay. Really good theme message, I guess. It's basically a movie about music, and I love music. But it's a British movie, so the British version is called The Boat That Rocked. Okay. And it's like a whole 45 minutes longer. And the movie's already like 2 hours, 10 minutes.
Perfect.
So the original, the British version, just adds more story, and just American version, we're not going to sit through a 3-hour movie about, a British pirate radio boat in the 60s. And so, there's 2 versions, and that's like the only time where, in not even an unrated version, but where something like that would come up and like, oh, there's actually more to this movie.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any other bullet points for us? Anything else you wanted to discuss?
Let me look at my list, because I think I'm pretty much ready to wrap up. Basically, and this, we've talked about it a lot, and there is, again, I know I keep talking about, watch this documentary, watch that, but there's a documentary, it's like an hour long, so I don't know if you can even call it that, but it's called Let's Talk About Sex.
Okay.
And it shows, interviews with Americans, interviews with Europeans, and basically how they treat sexuality. Totally different. And the film kind of goes into what the impacts of this are. So, like, in America, the STD rate's really high. Europe, it's really low. And I know this may not seem like it ties into the MPAA, but if you consider films shown in Europe, there's more sexuality themes like that in them. So because they're exposed to this, they don't say boobs are like awesome boobs. Because just because there's nudity in a movie doesn't mean it's just there for nudity.
Right.
So I think that's the big thing. Like, when it's rated R for nudity, it's always like you see boobs flashed real quick or something. So I guess we could see nudity in a negative way, where films that try to portray it not just to have, boobs in a movie, when they do that, they don't get, an R-rated, or they get an NC-17. So I would say, and, if you agree or disagree, feel free to say so, but I think that by limiting that, we just kind of don't progress, really, as a society. Just looking, I'm not saying, like, Europeans are better, but in this instance, they're definitely, kind of ahead of the game. So because they're more open to these ideas,
I guess I would say I would agree, but I'm going to say that it is it's because we share the same opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's, you could probably...
And they're good opinions.
You could probably come up with religious reasonings to why being quote-unquote progressive or, whatever about sex in general is not a good thing or whatever. So that same person is not going to say, well, yes, it's a good thing that they're less restrictive about their sexuals, whatevers. But then when you look at it in the same way and you say, well, look at this. Their people are more educated. There's a lot less of, this and that, all these things that we would necessarily say bad about sex, whether it's disease or whether it's
teenage
unplanned
pregnancy,
exactly.
all that.
Now if you can tie all that together into actual evidence and facts, then yes, it's easier to say that maybe not treating sex in film or just in media in general as being such a forbidden fruit, because that's what we do. It's I don't know. And then, of course, you're going to get really deep into philosophical debates on whether or not, how to treat sex as a topic. I'm pretty sure our podcast today is rated NC-17 for saying boobs as many times as we have the word sex. It's been very interesting topics, though. It's something that has definitely sort of bothered me in the past. As far as, how violence is treated with such, ease of...
dismissiveness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can see a guy's head getting blown away. Nothing against Tarantino, but, like, you can watch a Quentin Tarantino film, like, okay, that's cool.
Right.
But then you could watch, like, a John Waters film, and you're like, whoa, no, that's too much.
Yeah, if you were to have as much nudity as you do violence, then it becomes porn, And
yeah.
it's...
Like, if you watch Short Bus. I don't know if you're familiar with Short Bus.
I'm aware of the premise because of its like risque nature, but that's it.
Or Deep Throat. Like, if you watch those,
are you sure that isn't porn, Kevin?
It's border. No, it's borderline. But anyway, so like you watch those films, and like Deep Throat, I think was like in the 70s. So it probably was. But like you watch films like that, and like because I guess basically how society has influenced us, we're like, no.
Right.
But again, you could watch like any Tarantino film, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome.
Right, and that's acceptable for us to do. So, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if any kind of changes get made to this. But I guess if we're looking at the MPAA being sort of an unpoliced organization,
probably won't.
Just continue to do whatever makes them the most money, which is suppress freedom, as we know by our government and our politicians. It got really heavy and deep there for a moment. We'll back out. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We're not actually going to kick you off. We're going to have Kevin help us and do our outro stuff. But Ross will be back. Ross will be back next week.
Ross will be back.
We'll be back.
He'll be back next week. We'll have more Karmified awesome things. Hopefully talking about more serious stuff so we can, I'll ask Ross next week if I can remember, see what his opinion is, the general quick opinion on violence versus sexuality in the media. Well, that's it. That's the end of our show. That's what we do every Saturday, but it's done now. If you want to help out, if you're listening in, you're like, hey, that show's not bad. That Kevin guy and Tony, they're all right. They're cool. Feel free to help us out. Share our stuff on social media. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, share things about the show. Say good words about us. Even word of mouth, man. Go to a family get-together, and you're late about 30 minutes and on a Saturday morning, and they're like, Billy, why were you late for freaking Christmas lunch? You say, well, I was listening to an awesome podcast. I know Christmas wasn't on a Saturday. It will be eventually. And then you can use that excuse. But yeah, so share the stuff about the show. It really helps us out. If you want to sponsor a segment, you can find out more about that on our website. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/streamthemachine. There's 2 methods there. You don't have to donate any money, but if you'd like to, that definitely helps. Can just become a supporter. Don't have to pay anything at all. Just click and say, I want to support. I'm not ready to pay any money or do anything like that. And even just supporting us helps. Email in music. If you have music, and we actually have something good at the end of the show today, thanks to Mr. Kevin Dunne coming through on 2 fronts, helping us out with the guest segment and then also bringing some great music to the show. But if you know people that have music and you want it played at the on the show, go ahead and say, hey, buddy, do you care if we play your music? Do you care if they play your music? And we'll bring you on the show. We'll play it, announce anything else you want us to announce, help each other out. Love playing music that I can get sent in versus the stuff that I have to find. I like the stuff I can find, but prefer the personal feel of sending in the music. You can follow me on Twitter at RedefineJack. I don't post. Tony, and you can follow him at Tony DePalma51. I had Kevin up here, but he said he doesn't use Twitter either. So show Twitter at STM Podcast. I don't remember to update that, so get on Facebook and like the Facebook page. That's where I usually post the most. The only thing you will see on the Twitter page is when we're going live, because Twitch, I believe, posts, and VexXxeR always posts. I'll be at 30 minutes late today. You can find more information about everything, all of that, everything I've said at streamthemachine.com. You can also listen to older episodes there as well. So if you decide, like, hey, this episode wasn't bad, I want to hear more, go there and you can find our archive. We've actually got a YouTube channel now. Let me figure it out. So I can't believe I haven't really announced this yet. Do I have? Let me see here. Yeah, okay. So there's no real easy link I can mention here. So what I'm going to say is go to youtube.com, and when you type in, you can search for Stream the Machine, probably. And
you can. I did the other day, and I found you guys pretty easily.
Perfect. And you can find our videos as they are after the show. I'm hearing something in the background getting intense.
That's probably me, and I apologize. It did sound like a caw.
Sort of, I guess.
It sounds like it was like a horror film.
So, my bedroom is right next to, because I live with my oldest brother, and he has a renter, and I'll move out of the room here. But that sound you hear is the shower.
Ah.
And I hear that often late at night when I'm trying to sleep, and it's...
I thought something was like It was like, because it was like starting out low and then got louder and louder and louder, and I was like, for sure something was going to happen. Something bad was going to happen. I was like, oh no, that's suspenseful music. I actually have.
Right? It sounded like something was like it was going to pop out of your closet, Jake, and just...
And then I was like, one of us is dead.
Exactly.
So anyways.
I have moved, so hopefully you cannot hear
it's
the
perfect
pipes
now.
above my bed.
That's awful. I feel bad for you, at least for during the showers. I want to thank everybody for coming on the show and doing cool things. So I want to thank Tony for coming on and being an awesome co-host every week. I want to thank Kevin for being an awesome guest for the show. We don't get to have guests that often, so when we do, we're very excited.
Thanks for having me.
With a lot of entertainment and whatnot. Next week will be episode 40. We're 10 episodes away from the 1 year and from episode 50. Again, we're trying to do something big for that show, so we'll figure out what we can do. Now, I'm going to have Kevin help me announce our last band here. So, I asked you, I said, Kevin, do you know anybody that wants their music played on the show? And you sent me this. This was, I previewed the song just barely. It was actually really good. Now, who are these guys?
I talked earlier about nepotism and how it's bad, so I'm going to be a little hypocritical here.
Okay.
These are my former roommates. I lived with like 6 other people, and they all played music, and I just listened to music. But Greenville College Band, where I went to school, Matthew Harper, who plays drums, Garrett Ray, who plays guitar, Caleb Dossett, who plays guitar, and I'm forgetting somebody, Ben Sanborn, who plays bass. They are called The Losers, which my friend Matt, he came up with the band, and it is a reference to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers song, Even the Losers, and it is kind of a southern, not country, but just a southern rock band, and they were the only southern rock band in the school that had like 18 metal bands. Nothing wrong with metal, but it was a very saturated genre at my school. So it was a very a fresh of breath air that they are. They are currently on hiatus as they've all moved throughout the United States and other parts of the world.
You mentioned that. It's unfortunate because what little I've heard of the song so far, I was really impressed and loved that. And it's for one who's done music really just kind of by myself for a while. I'm heartbroken enough by being split up from Tony and our occasional jam sessions. So I can't imagine being in an actual band and having to split up as well. But this is The Losers with She Was Bad. And I don't know if it's off a particular album. I just wrote down here that it was a single.
It's from an EP. They did like 4 songs.
Okay.
But you can just find them on YouTube, just The Losers and She Was Bad. And then you can follow the links to the other ones. They're in the suggested videos.
Perfect. It's good music, so go there afterwards and learn how you can get other music of theirs. That is it for us. We're going to sign off. We'll be back next week, hopefully with more Ross. Unfortunately, a little less Kevin than usual. And we'll be on episode 40 and keep on trekking. And I'm sure we'll have you back on for something, Kevin. That was a good discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime you want me on, say the word.
I have to get you back. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend and enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.
gone, you were gone. Going along now, go on to bed. I want you to know your mother's dead. I don't wanna know myself. Whoa, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. This is all wrong, wrong, wrong. Yeah, this is all wrong. Shining eyes, they speak the truth. The raging hate inside of you. I'll sympathize and I try to patch those holes. Baby, you're broke. Baby, you're broke. Baby, you're broke. Yeah, baby, you're broke. Because she was bad. About her in that dress. You know the one she wore to impress everyone around. I should have been asking why she had to die. Because she was bad. Because she was bad. Because she was. She was bad.
Jacob, keep your shirt on. No.
Wet your whistle.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I feel tired for whatever reason. Seems to be vibe. I drank a little bit of coffee this morning and then tried laying down a little bit before the show just to relax a little bit. Oh, that was good timing. Rachel just got home. She has it down to a T of when the show is and when it ends. But I was super antsy, just laying in bed. I was just laying there being like I need to do something. I need to move. I was glad to get on the show. Trying to get some of the energy out.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
I'm glad we were able to get Kevin on.
Me too. Shit, I think it was just last Saturday it was the first time we'd even talked about it. All because of Steven Zernecki.
Yeah.
Good friend of the show, Steven.
Yeah.